Hey everyone, welcome back to Code Cleanup. I'm Alena.
And I'm Alex. Between the two of us, there is more than 20 years of front-end experience. Still not enough to trust AI-generated architecture.
In this series, we take real-world code, often generated by AI, and refactor it into something you'd actually want to keep working on.
In the previous episode, we refactored the sorting logic, which was slow, hard to read, and didn't even respect the language.
If you missed that one, you should definitely check it out.
Now that sorting is no longer the biggest issue, today we are fixing something more interesting, a component that knows way too much. We'll be refactoring React code generated by AI, applying Zustand state management best practices.
So, today's cleanup is about state management, derived state, and separation of concerns.
So we continue working on our small contact book. Each contact has a name and a city, and we have sorting by multiple directions, by name and city, and we have pagination and search.
The app was mostly generated by AI, and on the surface, everything looks fine. So, what are we actually trying to improve here?
So what bothers me most is the root component, the page component that knows way too much. So it is so big, like 250 lines of code doing everything. But for a start, we need to focus on one small thing. And I wanted to refactor how we actually get the list of contacts that we render. So the contacts list component, it renders the sliced contacts, and this is exactly these contacts cards we are seeing in the main page. So they changes every time we type something in the search box, or when we sort, or when we switch pages. Let's check how the sliced contacts is built. So sliced contacts is a list of contacts that we pick from the processed contacts, but from the index of first contact to index of last contact to keep the pagination working. Actually, it's hard to note everything. Let me write it down. So we have sliced contacts, thing that we render. And how do we get sliced contacts? From process contacts. And what is process contacts? It's a result of sorting contacts list. So if it's sorting enabled, we just sort contacts with the function we refactored in the previous episode by the sort field and sort direction, right? So we get sliced contacts from process contacts, which is sorted filtered contacts actually. What is filtered contacts? So the filtered contacts is an array of contact that is built here with the search term. So if the search term existed, the thing we type in the search box, we add the contact to the filtered contacts list if name or city matches the search term. So we get this from filtered contacts. And what is the contacts that we filter? It is finally the data we take from the store.
Interesting method for understanding all the process. Do you use it often? The nodes like that?
It depends on how complex the task that I'm solving is for me. For example, if it's something simple, I don't usually do that. But if it's hard for me to track all the dependencies, I usually write notes or even draw something.
Useful, thank you.
Yeah, so let's move the code together. Let me collapse everything unrelated. We have something for URL management. Yeah, but here is the thing that I want to just move close to other part of the code. Yeah, so now we have everything at least fit in one screen, but I want to extract this from the component. So what I do, I just select the whole bunch of code I want to extract through, and I personally use Visual Studio Code. And here is a cool feature. When I open the menu using right click and I pick the refactor action, and there are different options to refactor, and what I want is to extract the function in a module scope. So it will create a function just in the same file, in the root of the file. Yeah, and we'll move all the code there. Yeah, so you see it replaced all the code we had here with just one line of a new function. I will call it get contacts, and it is taking all the parameters required for getting contacts. Yeah, here it is. It just takes all the params, and yeah, just the logic we had, it just extracted here. Oh, there is something wrong with the sort field. I believe this is because we take string here, but in the sort context we actually expect an explicitly name or city, and the same for direction. So let me just copy the types here and paste it here. All right.
Do you like it better? I don't see a big difference for now.
Please be patient. This is just the first step.
Okay, I'm wondering what are you going to do next? By the way, why do we still need that processed contacts?
This one, yeah, let's check. So actually what is processed contacts? It is the list we create before sorting, and sorry, it's the sorted list of contacts, but before we do the slice. So it's the list of all the contacts that match the filter actually. And let's check how do we use it. So here we take it, then we use the length of the process contacts to calculate the amount of total pages. We divide it by the contacts per page. So we just need the amount of total contacts that we have, the total amount. Where else do we use it? Here again, we just compare it to 0 to, again, the length to decide if we need to show the empty results widget. And here for the pagination, again, to decide if we need to show the pagination. And in the footer for, again, we just use length for showing the numbers. Let me show you it in the application. Yeah, so here in this line, we show how much contacts we have that match the filter. So if I type something, right, it's just one filtered contact. So it looks like we need it.
So obviously that we don't need all array. We need only length of this array.
Exactly. So instead of returning the whole thingy, we can return just the total number of items. And then we will just use it here. And everywhere we used the process contacts length. It should work. Okay, 59, 3, yeah, seems
Perfect.
working.
To be honest, I don't like how many params the get contact function takes. What do you think about it?
I agree. Actually, we can replace the index of first and last contact, I believe, because if we check what they are doing is just a calculation based on the current page, right? So we can just pass the current page there and calculate these two in place. So we need them for slicing. We can put it here and replace the parameter. Yeah, and the same we should do with the function call. So pass current page and remove this.
It's get better, but still a lot of params. 3 of them are for sorting.
I see. Let's check why there are so many. So how do we use these 3 in the function? So if it is sorting, so the sorting is enabled, we sort contacts by the sort field and sort direction. I think like if we have sort field and sort direction, we don't actually need the is sorting flag, but let's check how it's stored in the Zustand store. So let's check the store code. I think I don't need my notes anymore since we extracted everything to the function. Yeah, and what do we have in the store? We basically have the same 3 parameters. And how do we manage them? Yeah, so we have that reset sorting, obviously, that reset the sort is sorting flag to false. And when we set sort field, this is called when user clicks the name or city button. What do? We set is sorting flag to true. We save the fields that we are sorting by, and we work with the sort direction. And what we do here, if the field matches the field that is stored in the store, we flip the sorting direction. Otherwise, we use the default value, which is ascending. I don't think we need like 3 params for that. I would say we can describe the whole state of sorting with one object. I would call it sort state, and it should itself has field like name or city and direction, ascending or descending. And here, instead of storing these 3, we can store just this one. So sort state.
Okay, and how we will manage the situation when we don't have sorting?
Right, so we can store something instead of that object, for example, null. So now we need to refactor the methods to be able to do it. Let's just comment it out to not have everything in red. So reset sorting will be just set sort to null. And here, instead of this 3, we can just have sort, which has field name and direction ascending, and we can remove this 3. Yeah, and what do we need to do here? So we don't need to set is sorting to true anymore, but what we need to do is set the sort object where the field is just field we're taking, and where direction is, that should be a tricky part. So what should be direction? Let me actually just copy this code and adapt it to the new structure. So instead of state sort field, we can just check sort question mark dot field, because sort can be null. And here we just need to compare the sort direction and return the expected value. Yeah, like that, I believe. Let's check
Can
if
we?
it
Sorry. Can we do this monstrous line simpler? What do you think?
this one. Yeah, we can extract actually, I would say not the whole thing, but this particular thing that flips the value into something with a better name, like for example, function flip sort direction, which takes current value and return the flipped thingy. We don't mean that. Okay, and just call it here. Do you like it more?
It's okay.
Okay, so let's fix the component now. So now instead of these three params, we take just one sort, and I'm gonna just fix any error I see with the most straightforward way. So here we set is sorting to false. Now it's equivalent of set sort to null. Here we set sort field and sort direction, and now it's equivalent of writing the sort object with name sort and direction as it is, right? Not name but field, and is sorting. We don't need it anymore because we have the sort object defined. And where else we had that problem? Here, instead of is sorting, it's enough now to check the sort object, sort field, sort direction. What else do we have here? We had an effect that actually doesn't use these three params, but we just wanted to call the effect if one of them changed. So now it's enough to pass just one. Yeah, let me keep the... Okay, let's rewrite it like that. Sort here, and we'll fix it later. The signature of the function. Here again, we don't use these params in the effect. Actually, we just wanted to call the effect if one of them changed. So again, we can replace it with just sort. And here we should put the sort field and sort direction. And we have some type issues. I believe we just need to do something like that to address it in the sorter thingy. Right. Okay, so I didn't want to focus on the details of sorting everywhere. I just want to fix the get context signature. So instead of those three, we'll now take the sorting object, which is of sort state shape, otherwise it can be null, and just use it here. So instead of sorting, again, we need just sort and sort. Oh, actually, we don't need exclamation question marks here, and direction. Yeah, should work. So we are factory sort. So I'm going to test just this. It's currently sorted by city ascending and descending, and by name ascending and descending, and reset also works. It was actually a bug when we click reset, the state of components were reset, but we still had city or name button highlighted. Now we don't have this issue anymore.
Great job. But I'm impressed that we didn't write any tests at this point.
Yeah, you got me. Actually, I don't want to write tests for the get context function because we basically just moved existing code there and didn't change nothing really. But for the state, I really want to write tests because we refactored this part, and it's not super complex, but it's kind of tricky. So let's write some tests here. And I'm gonna use the same framework we used for testing, Vit and Vitest. And here I'll write test for use contacts store. And what are we gonna test actually? So the Zustand store, we usually in the components use it as React hooks, right? So use contact store is a hook created by Zustand create method. But to test hooks, we need to set up that testing library and wrote that acts call, and yeah, not something hard, but really verbose. But we don't really want to test a hook here, right? Because we have all this logic just poorly live in the object. So we have just method and some state we mutating. That's it. And how we can test it in isolation without having the hook. There is a pattern in Redux that you see we pass a function to the create and persist middleware that we use in this case, but doesn't matter. But we have this function that takes the set param and returns the whole object for the store. And we can just extract this function and test it by itself without any extra layers like React hooks. What do we need for that is we need to extract a constant, for example, contacts state creator, which is a type of state creator from Zustand, and we need to pass our state shape here. And yeah, we just write this function. Let me prettify it. So again, this is the function that is of type of state creator that is imported from Zustand here. And we just have that set param. We can actually have also get param from Zustand, but we do not use it, so we don't need it. And we return the whole store object, the object that we had before. You see, I just moved the code. And I will just pass this function here, just in place. I mean, instead of having it in place, I will just pass the parameter.
Okay, and what we got here?
Yes, now we can export it and use just this function in our test. So we don't need the hook layer for test. And what we're gonna test actually, I think the first test should just check the default state. So what do we have by default? What in the sorting state? We have field name and direction ascending. Let's test that. So should sort by name ascending by default. And how we can write this test, we can type like const store create from Zustand and pass the create, what was it called? Context state creator. Context state creator. Right? So by this, we just get the whole Zustand store in a single variable. And how can we test it? We can write some expect that store get state sort is equals
Field.
Field name and direction ascending. Okay, to equal. Let's check. Yeah, it passed. Cool. So what else can we test? Obviously the flipping logic. I will just copy the test and just rewrite it. Should flip sort direction. We sort by the same param. And here we should call store get state set store field, and we say set it to name again, and now we can assert that the direction is flipped. Yeah, it works.
What can you say about this test pattern? Is it obvious, usual for state testing?
Yes, so it is actually a pattern called AAA, triple A, arrange, act, assert. And what is it? Is the way of writing tests. It's not actually related just to Zustand tests or any state management test, but it's a common pattern for any kind of tests. When we first prepare some data, like set up the environment for the test, then we act, which means we call some action or emit some event that happens in our system. In this test, it reflects the event when user clicks the sort by name, and then we assert that the state we are getting is the same that we expect. And I usually like to shape tests for the state management layer in the way that user interacts with the interface. So I basically call the same event that will be called if a user just clicks, and then I assert the expected state of the data that user will expect to see.
Okay. Do you feel safer now? I hope so. Cool. I like that we even fixed a bug by refactoring. I believe that clear code produced less bugs, and I like when by simplifying things we fixed bugs. I mean a bug with reset button.
Yeah, this thingy. Let's actually write test for this as well. So what do we want to check here is it should reset sort when user clicks reset. So here we should call the reset sorting, and we should assert that it is actually known to be no. Right, so yeah, it works. So now we are safe and we shouldn't produce this back again.
Are we finished with tests? Or you want to
It's
test something more?
Yeah, it's obviously some scenarios we didn't cover, but let's not spend time for that in this video. I think the idea is clear.
And I hope that for our listeners, the information about AAA button could be useful on you. Okay, now the get contacts function has 4 params. Do we need all of them?
I think yes. So the contacts is the data we are getting from the store itself with the full list of contacts. The search term is the text in the search box that we use for filter them. The sorting obviously also needed to sort the params, and the current page is needed to have the pagination working.
Okay, I see. Could you please scroll back to the use contact store call?
Oh, a lot of scrolling. Yeah, this one.
Okay, you know what I'm thinking about? We get contacts, sort, and current page from the Zustand store. Yeah.
Right.
So, but we store search term locally. Yeah.
Yeah, this one in the use state.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I don't like this kind of mismatch. Is it needed in this situation?
You're right. I didn't notice that that search term actually used in the same way as sorting or current page. So, to get the list of contacts. So let's move it to the store as well.
Okay.
So what we want here, I'll just write it here. Search term and set search term, and I will just put it there in the store. So search term, which is a string, and set search term, which has value string, and returns void. And here we also need to set this. So search term empty string and set search term. Yeah, so we basically moved the same thing with the same signature just to the store from the local state.
And again, no tests.
Come on, this is just a setting of string. What can be safer?
Okay. Now we have all the data in the store. Perfect. I guess the best part will be now.
Exactly. This is what we need to show the main idea. Now we can use the derived state or computer state, as people call it. So what we can do is to refactor get contacts to get the state and pick the values from the state itself.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that. I'll take the state as contacts. What was it called? Oh, it's not exported. Export contacts state instead of everything else. And I will just destructure here, just like that. Oops. And now here for the contacts, we can just, where it was, yeah, here we can just pass the state. Let's actually move it closer to the Zustand call. Yeah, here. But how we can get the state? Let's refactor it a little bit. Const state equals here and get state here and use it here for destructuring. Yeah, we even don't need the original list of contacts, right? We can just remove it. And yeah, like that.
Impressive. Why don't you pass the selector as a parameter to the use contact star hook?
Oh, good question. Actually, let me first show you the application that it works now. So yeah, seems working. And what you are referring to, I think you want me to type something like that. So we pass the get contacts to the use contact store hook directly.
Mm-hmm.
And it will even work in the pure React application, but since we are using Next.js, we had this error. The result of getSnapshot should be cached to avoid an infinite loop.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem why we're getting this thingy is because from the getContacts function, we return an object every time with the sliced contacts that are again created all the time, like every time we call the function. So on every render, we get the new object.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, React cannot really know that it is the same object. For just rendering, we could still use it, but we'll have a little performance issues. Not that big on our size of application, but Next.js are really aware of the situation. So
These bugs could be crucial in a big product.
right, so if you have some big React component that takes a long time to render, and you will need to render it every time if even the list of contacts didn't change just because the new object is created. This is usually what we solve with use memo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but now we need to solve this in a way that return the stable reference from the hook itself.
But the use mema is a theme of one of our next episodes. Yes?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
I see.
so yeah, this is a common Next.js error because we create a new object in our render. So we need some kind of memoization here. But how we can memorize the results if not using useMemo, because we cannot just write useMemo right here.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we solve this? I've already installed a reselect library that allows us to do exactly this thing, like cache some results and return stable objects
Mm-hmm.
outside of React. So it doesn't use like useMemo or something under the hood. We can just use it in any place we want. So what I'm going to do is to create a const get contacts, which is create selector. You could see this pattern in Redux application because the create selector is usually exported from Redux toolkit. So what we need to pass here is a bunch of functions that pick a piece of the state that we need to depend on. So we need contacts, we need search term, and we need sort, and we need current page. You see, this is basically these params that we are taking from state, nothing more. And then we create our function that takes these four. I will just copy it from here. And it should return the results that we want to memorize. So like that, and I can delete this function now. Yeah, so you see what's going on here. These four are called like source selectors. So they pick the data from the store directly. And if one of them changed, our latest function, the real selector that do the work, it takes these four as parameters. And if these four are the same than in a previous function call, the function even won't be called. We will just get the result of this function because it is memoized, like when we use memo, but outside of React. So these are kind of dependencies. And this is, if you would put it in the use memo, this will be the main use memo function. Right, so this is how it works. And now we didn't touch anything here. We just create this function using create selector instead of just writing the function, and it should work. So we do not have that Next.js warning anymore. Let's check that it worked. Like Arial, okay. So by name, city, pagination,
And reset.
Yeah, and reset, right?
I see. So the function will be called only if one of the four params changed.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And this is how Zustand Selector works. So they help you to get derived state. In our case, the derived state is this object. So derived means it is calculated based on some data we have in the store. It takes nothing more, just some pieces of store as parameters and just return it. Yeah.
Okay.
This is derived state or computed state.
Nice. I'm gonna watch how do you write test for that.
Yeah, sure. My favorite part. So first I want to move the function directly to the use contact store file because it is closely bounded to the store structure. So it makes more sense to put it here, and I will just export it. Export create selector. So contacts per page, right? And we need to import it here.
Why don't you use command dot to
Command dot.
export?
Oh, I didn't know that. Good to know. Okay, so we removed a lot of imports from here because they are now moved to the store, and we want to test the get contacts functionality. So what I would do is to basically check in the same actually test scenarios. It is pretty discussable thing actually, but I want the test for the store to be focused on user scenarios instead of just testing methods. So this is why I'm gonna add the validation of contacts in existing tests.
Okay.
So as an arrange part, we can set store get state. Let's state. I will add some contacts here. So contacts. Let's create something we will use for all the tests. Test contacts. Type contact, which could be, for example, I don't know, city, Mexico, and name, I don't know, Alice, and ID 1, and I don't know, Bob of ID 2. Which city do you like?
I think London. Why not?
Okay.
Or Glasgow.
And I don't know how to type Glasgow. Is it like that? Glasgow?
I hope so.
Let's give it like that.
I
Okay.
believe that test data, mock data, is the only place where AI generated thing could work.
Yeah. So what we're gonna test here is that the list of contacts is sorted in the way we want. So we want to get contacts from the state, right? We pass the whole state object to the get contacts, and it will pick automatically those 4 items from the store. And we want to check if it is equal to this structure. If we sort by name ascending, it should be basically the same sort order, right?
Yep.
And we can do the same for other tests. Like this. And here, when we sort by field name and the sorting direction is flipped, we basically want to get these contacts in the different direction. Let's test if it works.
Whoa.
Oh, something's wrong here. Oh, okay, this is because we test the sliced contacts and total. This is what we return from the function. But here we just tested the contacts list. So let's type like this, sliced contacts. And here as well. And check if the sort works. Yeah, the sort works. So what else we are going to test? We need to test the pagination as well and the filtering.
Oh, I believe you love your tests as much as you can, but let's stop right now and go back to our code.
Yeah, sure. I think the idea is clear. So for other tests, we will just call, for example, instead of sort field, we will call like set search term, like L or something like that, and we will assert the list of contacts. And the same for pagination. For pagination, we obviously need more params, but we will do it like set. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. I like the selector pattern. Can we extract something else? As smart as it is.
I think about pagination. So you see, for this thing, we take multiple different params, but they all need just for pagination. So what do we need for pagination? Actually, let's create a new thingy here. Get pagination, create selector. What do we need for the pagination? Actually, we need current page, total pages, and index of first and last contacts. So we need the contact state and state current page, and based on the current page, what we can calculate actually. Yeah, current page, index of first contacts, I think we have it even here. I don't like these long names, so I will just call it last and first. And we should return the current page, last and first. And yeah, let's call it here, last, first, and current page is contact store, and get pagination. And we can remove it from here and just use this thing where it was. So it was last, it was first. Oh, else we use the search term for checking if it's filtered. So let's also put it here. Is filtered. We should check the search term not equal empty string.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get it here. It's filtered, and in the pagination we can use it directly like it's filtered. Yeah,
Nice.
now we everything that requires the pagination here.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I like the most that we moved all this logic out of the component. It's a clear separation of concerns in our front-end architecture. The rendering layers and the state management layer are now separate. But what I don't like is that the total value is actually needed for pagination rather than for rendering the list of components. Can we calculate it in the pagination selector instead of the contact selector?
Yeah, good catch. The problem is that the total, it depends on the process contacts. So we basically need to get all the filtered things
Mm-hmm.
in both selectors. And this is not what we really want because we don't want to do the logic twice. But we can do something else. So you see we have some source selectors here to extract some data from the store, but we can also put our own selectors here that do some calculations. So we can extract this part actually and to reuse the cached value in both get contacts and get pagination selectors.
Mm-hmm. Sounds reasonable.
So let's create, for example, get filtered contacts. That takes create selector. And what we need for it, we need contacts and search term. I'll just copy it to not mess with names, what I usually do. And I will just move this logic here. And I need to return this filtered contacts. And I can use these filtered contacts now instead of these two. I can put just this one. And here I will get filtered contacts again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this function return this list, and here we are taking it as a parameter.
Yep.
And now we can do the same for pagination. So we can get the, what was it? Get filtered contacts. Right? And we need to get it here. Contacts or filtered contacts. And yeah, just return the total, its filtered contacts length. And we can now move it from here to here. And since we return just the sliced contacts from here, from the use contact store, we can remove the object. We don't need object anymore. We just want to get one parameter. So we can just return the sliced contacts from here directly.
Smart. Let's see what's left in the component.
Yes, so we have the state still to extract all this data. We can move it back actually because we do not use the state param. Yeah, so we have all that things we take from the store, but for calculating contacts and pagination, we now have these two separate calls with selectors. And yeah, we still have those effects and event handlers and blah blah blah. We don't need these two anymore, right? We moved this logic to the pagination. Total pages. What's total pages actually? Oh, and the thing used for pagination as well. Let's move it there. We want to move this piece to the store as well. Let's just move it here, and we need to calculate total. Alright, so we can return total and total pages from here. Yeah. Yeah, so again, some effects, event handlers, but we get rid of all the calculations.
Yeah. Minus 35 lines of code.
Yeah, and plus some more tests.
Minus here, but plus in other
Yeah,
files.
that's fine. Yeah.
I like it much better now. All the data processing logic is moved to the store layer. Very clear.
Yeah, the component is much easier to read now. Let's quickly recap what we did today.
Sure. So we started with a React component that had way too much business logic inside. Filtering, sorting, slicing contacts, calculating totals, pagination.
Right, and the first thing we did was extract this logic into a separate function. But that was just step one.
Then we moved all the state into Zustand store, including the search term that was living locally in the component.
Exactly, and this is where the magic happened. We used Zustand Selectors with derived state pattern. Instead of calculating everything in the component layer, we created memoized selector using reselect.
Yep, and we covered that common Zustand error. The result of getSnapshot should be cached, which happens when you return a new object every time.
Yes, memoization in the key. Also, we showed how to test Zustand stores by extracting the state creator function. No React, no DOM, just pure logic tests.
I really like that approach. We wrote tests for sorting, for selectors, and it gave us confidence to refactor.
And we simplified the store structure, replaced 3 separate sorting parameters with one clean object.
So, to sum up, we demonstrated Zustand state management best practices. The derived state pattern, separation of concerns in front-end architecture, and how to test your store logic.
Exactly, the component now only cares about rendering. All the data processing live in the store layer where it belongs.
But there is still work to do, right?
Oh yes, I don't like these effects here. We still have side effects mixed in our component logic. That's what we'll tackle in the next episode.
If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It really helps us.
And let us know in the comments, what do you think about AI-generated code? Do you refactor it or use it as is?
See you in the next episode.
Happy refactoring!